Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. Janneh Wright, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again, and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Janneh Wright. With me today is Janneh Wright. Janneh Wright is the founder and CEO of Primus Business Management, where for over 2 decades, he's helped mission-driven businesses and nonprofits turn operational chaos into high-performance engines. As the architect of the 3 C's model, compliance, culture, and consistency, Janneh shows leaders how the back office isn't just overhead. It's the foundation of sustainable growth and impact. With a powerful blend of strategic insight and lived experience, Janneh is also a passionate advocate for economic empowerment in Black and BIPOC communities. Through ventures like the Business Capacity Development Alliance and his advisory role at JULO, he's helping to amplify diverse leadership and build equitable ecosystems. If you care about building organizations that actually work, not just on paper, but in real life, get ready for a conversation packed with insight, energy, and practical strategy. And I'm truly pleased to have him here with me today on the podcast. Good morning, Janneh. How are you?
Good morning. How about yourself?
I'm doing quite well. So, Janneh, I'm going to start off with my new question, and that simply is this. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? And what were some of the fundamental influences in your early life?
Sure. So I am actually an immigrant to the US. I was born in Guyana, South America. I came here when I was about 8, so I've probably been here more than I've been there in my lifetime. My influences are, I'm a family person. From my grandmother who passed away a few years ago to my parents, we are a tight-knit family unit. A lot of the influences I have on how I do things, why I do things, my inner conscience is all about that family dynamics.
That's great. Families have a very heavy hand in where you go and how you go in the world. Let me ask you this question. You created the 3 C's model, compliance, culture, consistency, to help organizations run better behind the scenes.
Yes.
Can you walk us through how each of those pillars plays a distinct role in operational transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started talking about this, part of the thing was when business owners, new business owners, mature business owners talk about their business, they only talked about the revenue side. They always complain about the other side, right? Oh, I got to do accounting, HR, all these things are becoming headaches to them. So when we start thinking about how do we really work with clients, what is it exactly that we do that's take the tangible things off, right? So take off, yes, we do accounting for organizations, HR management operations, but what are the tangible parts that people are not thinking about that needs to be done? And that's where these 3 C's came in. So when we talk about compliance, depending on what state you are in, what city you're in, even what neighborhood you're in, there's probably some codes about your business. There's some codes about how to deal with employees, some codes about regulations. All those things are a necessity for your organization. These are proving that your organization is real. You have your LLC, your corporation papers. You've done everything that's supposed to be done for your organization. This should give you a sense of pride that, yes, I am running this company and it's not just something on the side or some hustle I'm trying to do after work hours. This is a real business. Dealing with compliance is not just about proving that these things are important is about proving that the company exists, is about proving that the things that need to be done on a legal and a regulatory side is completely intact. And it gives you a lot of peace of mind. Once you have it done properly, you can set it and forget about it. You put it in your folder, you put it in your file folder, you know it's done, you don't have to worry about it. If I have to go find this report, it's all done and simplified. Sometimes people have a wrong idea what culture is. Like, it's not just, hey, we're going for happy hour after work. Culture is a dynamic within your organization that talks about how things are done, who we hire, why we hire people, why we need these positions done, who's connecting to what are the levels of hierarchy. All these are part of the culture organization. And when we talk about culture, it's also on the side of the employees and inside of the company of a peace of mind, right? Everybody knows who's going to do what. Everybody knows whose signature needs here. Everybody knows where things should be done. Everybody understands how things are going to be working between different dynamics, and it helps ease people's mentality. Because then I could just concentrate on my job and I have to worry about, oh, this happened or who's going to do this part. So the culture part of your organization is about easing the mind frame, helping people really be able to focus and have things done. The consistency part is one of the most important parts for me. Consistency, it means doing the same thing the same way over and over again. When you talk about consistency, you talk about how do you set things up? Why are things done in a certain way? The culture sets up the dynamic of how things are done. Consistency puts it on paper, right? You write the SOPs for the consistency part. You write the information to the manuals, the policies to ensure everybody knows not just word of mouth culture, but actually now written down in a way that people could be trained and learn how to work in this organization. One of the biggest mistakes people have when it comes to consistency is that it deals with all of the different levels of friendships in companies. It deals with different levels of the supposed biases in companies because now it's in writing. This is how things has to get done because it's the core values of the organization. When we put those three things together, you have organizations where its back office is running so smoothly. Now you can focus on revenue. Now you can focus on the part that brings in the money because you don't have to worry about the things behind you having any kind of holes in it at all.
You know, it occurs to me as you're talking that what people sometimes fail to recognize is you talk about revenue, and you're absolutely right. Everybody's talking about the front end, right? For what's coming in, what's our net, those kinds of things. But what people lose, and I believe it has a direct reflection on revenue, is the costs associated with not having the back office organized in a way where it's a smooth running operation. I'd love to get your reflection on that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. An example of that would be someone is going after, like you're in business right now and somebody calls and say, hey, I have this project for you to run. I need information in 20 minutes. If you don't have systems where you could easily pull it from someplace, that's how you're going to end up losing money, right? That's how you're going to end up losing situations because you can't respond at a decent pace. You have to go and try to recreate it if you don't have the structure and the foundation set up. Same thing with employees. Like employee wants time off. They don't have it, but there's a manual that says this is how time off works. So you don't have to be the bad guy to say no to something. You can go straight to the man and say, here's your time off leave. Here's the policy. Read it. If you're eligible for it, apply for it. If you're not, it's not in the policy. So when people don't think of this structure, these systems, they boost the revenue side. They're not there to slow it down. They boost it, make it move faster, make it move smoother, because everyone now is on the same page of what needs to be done at all times. So you're right. I think there's a definitely connection. And over the years, we've seen it. We work in the back office. So we've seen how organizations that we worked with have grown over the years because of these. The time that you spend trying to onboard somebody gets shorter. The time that you spend training someone gets shorter. The time that you spend getting information for a project or proposal gets shorter because we put systems in place to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and everybody knows what those systems are.
Right. And the inefficiencies cost money. They cost real money, right?
Yes.
I agree with you. I think people lose sight of that. Let's get it in the front door. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you don't want to do it that way. Let me move on to another question if I can. Culture is often thought of as soft, but you position it as a structural pillar. How does culture directly influence? And I think you've touched upon this, and we may be a little bit redundant, but that's okay. How does culture directly influence operational performance in nonprofits or small businesses?
So let's use HR as the basics of this. Culture defines what your values are in an organization. Who you hire, why you hire them, how you hire them is part of that cultural process. So if you've developed a system where you've implemented your values, your ethics into this framework of hiring, that means the culture of the people you bring in will be aligned. You're going to hire the right people for the job because the culture that you've created allows you to understand what a company needs and wants at all times. So when we're talking about, it's not just the soft things like lunch or things of that nature, it's really talking about a dynamic within the organization that leads to growth. The hiring the right person leads to growth. Having the right policies around benefits and remote work, all those are part of a designed cultural phenomenon that you're creating within your organization. To ignore that means that I think one of the things I used to tell some clients is, if you don't design the culture of your organization, your first employee will. That's a headache you don't want. You don't want someone to come into your business and say, hey, I was working at this company and they did that, so you should do it. No, you want to create that culture that you need for your organization, create those policies, so when they come in, they have to read what you've designed and not think about what their old company does because they no longer work there. So those kind of things are why it's not a soft thing anymore. It's really important, a great aspect to it. Because this is how you're going to get clients, this is how you can get employees to stay with you for more than 5 years. That's how you get employees to love their job and be a voice for you outside. Your employees are your biggest expense. They're your biggest expense. They can be one of the most dangerous parts of your organization if you're not being very attentive to them and their needs. They can really cause a lot of drama if you don't have the right systems in place to ensure control over those situations.
For the last couple of years, I've been talking about values alignment. Person coming in and the organization.
Yes.
I'll tell you, to my own detriment, I talked about it from the organization looking at the employee. What values does this individual have? I learned after a while that I was only building the bridge from one side of the river. I was talking about the employee, and then I realized we got to talk about the organization. The organization has to articulate their values. I think it's best done in a simple one-sentence mission statement. That's my take on it. So that there's a connection. You're building the bridge from both sides of the river, so to speak. We want to meet in the middle.
Yes.
And I absolutely agree with you. You have to articulate that because that is the foundation, as far as I'm concerned, of the culture. What are your values? What do you believe in? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? And what is it that you intend to do, and where do you intend to go? I also believe, and this is something I've learned from the unbelievable, incredible podcast guests that I've had. I talk about hire for values first. We'll get to the experience. We'll get to what they know. Hire for heart. Hire for people who have persevered, who've been through difficult and complex times. Why is that? Because they know how to get things done.
Yes.
They know how to move from a difficult time to a good time. They know what it takes to have grit, as I like to say. I'd love to get your reflection on those two ideas.
No, I think you're right. Hiring for values is important, right? If you and the person that you're hiring does not align on how to treat your clients, your staff, your employees, your vendors, then there's going to be an issue. There's going to be some contention there. So the value of how people respect each other and how work is important. The grit part, I think, is important. You ask certain questions in interviews. That's to assess the person's knowledge base of can they do their job. You did that already when you did the resume, right? You wouldn't have brought them in for interview if they didn't have the right resume. So if you already are 80% of the way on the resume side, the second side, in that interview conversation, you're trying to attain, are they going to be a good fit? You know who you are, who is the manager going to be hiring they're working with, the value of the organization. So now you're trying to match those two things. If you have a manager who doesn't talk a lot and you have an employee you're hiring who talks a lot, there's going to be some head bumping in that situation. So that's what you're trying to attain in those interviews. The value alignment is important. And it's not just the interpersonal communications, but is this person the right person to represent my company? And that's something that a lot of people don't really think about. Every time you hire somebody, whether it's a consultant or an employee, when they're on the job, they represent you and that company. If you hire somebody because they're a genius and they will do this job easily, but their personality sucks, no one's going to want to work with them and it's going to cause you a problem. Those kind of value alignments have to happen to ensure that you're getting the kind of person you need for your organization.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, you have to have it. And if you expect people to stay for, let's say, 5 years, that's sort of the average in many respects now.
Yep.
Not because they don't like you, but because it's time for them to move on and learn something new or try something different. And that's okay. That's okay because you have to take more of a magnanimous view to it and say, I'm feeding the ecosystem here. people in my business or in my work. A lot of times people don't see it that way. That guy left me, he doesn't like, he's a traitor, and all those different kinds of things. No, they left because it's time for them to move on. But I think if you want them for 5 years, you're going to have to reach out. You have to connect on a values alignment basis. And let me ask you this question. It might bring up a specific example. When you're brought into a chaotic organization, what are the first signs you look for that indicate the back office is blocking growth rather than enabling it?
A manual. I think that's one of the first things. Do they have stuff written down? It takes time to see concerns in the back office. It takes time to analyze and see where things are. But if you want to instant, like, there's a problem here, you look at that manual. If they don't have a manual, that means there's no foundation for the workflow to happen properly. Without that, it tells us where we have to start. We need to understand who's doing what, how things are being done. But then you have to have that concrete manual or policy to ensure that people are getting the job done. I think that's the first thing we look for.
Let me ask you this. Of all the companies that you've worked with, for-profit or not-for-profit, ballpark figure, in terms of the percentage of numbers that were without a manual, what percentage would you say that when you walked in the front door and said, let me see your manual, how many of them didn't have a manual?
How about 90%?
90% of the companies you work with didn't have a manual.
Most people who start businesses start running. They start going. They're not thinking about writing stuff down, because it's the idea of an organization going from a founder-led to a corporation or a growing business. So in that first couple of years, every game plan, every policy, everything that's done by the organization is in that founder's head. And to get that founder to stop moving, to write down everything, it's almost impossible. So Most companies don't have manuals. They don't have a policy procedure. They don't have any of those things. So we go in and we write it for them. But I think about 90% of them don't have one in place where we start with them.
Amazing. I thought the number would be around 50 or 55 or 60%. 90%. Wow. Good business for you. There's a lot of opportunity out there. It's just amazing. That's great. I want to ask you this question because it's such a big topic. AI, in your experience, where do you see artificial intelligence acting as an inflection point within the 3 C's, especially when it comes to creating scalable systems that enhance compliance, culture, or consistency? How does AI play in that back office role as you see it today and evolving?
I know a lot of people are scared of AI. I'm not. I look at AI as a computer or the calculator. This person has to have certain level of skills to utilize it properly. So in the same way a calculator makes math faster, AI is going to make the work faster, the analytical stuff faster, the write-up stuff faster. For us, AI is going to be part of that conversation of how do we get things from point A to point C a lot quicker than we could before. So it's going to be part of the conversation. It's going to be part of helping us analyze, review, write, and create certain parts. But knowing that the person that's putting in those prompts still have to know how to do the job. They still have to understand how to do the work. They still have to have the imagination and the foresight and the strategy for what the company wants. Because AI is not going to give you that. They'll give you a generic whatever, but somebody still has to be able to code into the information. So it's going to be a part of it. It's going to be a part where we can manage much more clients, much faster, much more with quicker results because of AI. So it's not something that we look at as a competition to us. It looks like something that's going to enhance the work that we do. And as we implement it more, it's giving our clients even better outcomes because we understand more about who they are and what they're looking to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are very reluctant. I was some while back. I'm all in, as they say at the poker table. I use it every day, and I'm creating some Udemy courses. I couldn't get it from my head to the front door without it. It would take me years, and I wouldn't do it. It's just too hard. But the way I see it today, it's an efficiency engine.
Yes.
It's an efficiency engine. It says, okay, let me take you from here to there, and we're going to get you there a lot quicker. So I absolutely agree with you. It's unbelievable where it's going. And I think some of the wild and out there kinds of claims and the scary things that many people are putting on the table, sure, the opportunity is There will always be people who use it for nefarious ends, but I think it brings such a tremendous level of capability to everyday people,
Yes.
to small businesses, not for profits. To me, as a one-man operation, it really has an incredible capability that I've found has been so useful for me.
I
Go
think
ahead.
there is some things to that. I think there are going to be industries that's going to be devastated. There are going to be industries that are not going to exist anymore because AI is taking them over. We're seeing right now the scare of like the cabs, taxis, those are all like futuristic scares that's based in reality. But when you think of history, you think of the Industrial Revolution, you think of all those things, this is not the first time this has happened. Think of typewriters. This is not the first time this has happened. And as an entrepreneur, as a business person, our job is to see what's coming, analyze it, and figure out how we incorporate it into what we do or how we pivot and go someplace else because it's going to devastate what we're trying to do. Being stuck in the idea that you are this kind of business person is not what entrepreneurship is about. We build businesses, we build companies, we build things. We look towards the future, we look towards AI, what AI is going to come and bring and do, and you figure out how you incorporate it in your business or how you pivot to ensure that you're still successful in what you're doing.
Very well said. That is absolutely on the money. I remember when computers were coming online and when browsers were just, wow, browse. You mean you can actually see a picture on your computer screen and you can click on these things? I laugh at this all the time. That, in those days they said, we'll never have a need for paper anymore. Paper is going away. It'll all be digital. Right. I hate to look around my office and see all the paper. A lot of that is, again, hyped. And don't forget the .com. Everybody, when computers are coming online in the late 80s, early 90s, .com this, and everybody was .com that. And a lot of them got led down the primrose path and had those bubbles burst. One must look at this with a very cautious eye and see where it's going, how it's going there. Sure, certainly there'll be some amazing systems without a doubt. Space travel, healthcare, diagnosing heart disease, cancer, all those kinds of things. Wow, just amazing. But still in the end, for me, there has to be a person in the loop. Somebody's got to be in the loop. And I tell people this time, because boys are going to get me in trouble. I'm going to get myself in trouble. That the AI hack, is a human in the loop.
Yes.
That's the hack. So, someone could look at it and say, no, that's not right. We have to change it, modify it, do whatever you can. We'll see where it takes us. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think when you look at the numbers, technology has flipped this world upside down. Whatever happened in the late 60s compared to now is completely different. Things are going to change. We're going to have a different way of doing things, and it's going to happen. So instead of being scared of it, understand this is going to be a natural progression. It's going to keep changing. It may double again in our lifetime. It may completely flip over in our lifetime from the old-fashioned cell phones to what we have now in our pockets and little computers. Technology is something that's never, ever going to stop growing and going to keep flipping. So you got to be part of it. You have to understand where it's going and how to use it so you don't get left behind.
One of the most consistent factors in my mind through all of this is continuous learning.
Yes.
You can't just say, I've reached 65 or 70 and say, oh, I'm done. No, I'm done. I always say, never be afraid to learn something new.
Absolutely.
And you just have to say, well, this is new. This should be interesting. Should be exciting. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's fun. It's curious. It's exciting. It's worthwhile for the cost of, you can do so much.
Yes.
To uplift yourself and your organization. I'm with you 100%. Let me ask this question because I think it goes back to some of the things we've already said. I love this point. Not many people think about it. Not many people say, wow, this is really important. So here's the question. You've called the back office a growth engine. What advice would you give a founder who still views operational infrastructure as overhead rather than a strategic asset?
I always thought of trying to create this calculation of what it costs to hire your first employee. There's a reason I'm trying to figure that number out. Because the reality of this is, as a CEO of an organization, as a founder of an organization, you're doing 1,300 different things, right? What would happen if you took one of those things and move it into somebody else's hand? You're not going to stop doing it. You're going to find something else to do. That one other thing you have to do is what's going to help you grow that business to one more level, one more centimeter up. So when you think about the back office, think about if you can put your day into buckets, revenue generating, operations, and leadership. What happens if you take the operations side out of that equation, put it to somebody else? How are you going to split your time between revenue generation and leadership? That's where growth comes. This is how operations help my company because it gives me more free time to grow my business. Second part of it, you're now having some part of your organization dedicated to the underlying growth of your company. All of your legal requirements are situated. You don't have to worry about anything coming up to bite you. You're hiring staff in an efficient way. That means you're getting the right people into the organization quickly and you're training them better. That's revenue generating. Your policies of how things are being done is making sure that you don't have to now spend time coming back to put out fires and make sure that your clients are happy and make sure all these other parts are happy. So now this whole operational side of your organization is helping you grow your business. Growing your business means making more money, means getting more attention, means that the systems that are working in place is making the economies of scale of you become a lot more viable. When you're looking at it, these are the two things that I look at. How much time can I take up a CEO's hands to have them be able to focus on the revenue, on the sales, on the program? That's one part of it that I always talk about. But then the secondary part is the efficiency of the organization running. What is that value to you? What's that value to your organization? Not in 50 years, like in pretty quickly, within a year, you will see the difference in your organization if you put more time into understanding and developing the operational side of your company through the efficiencies of your team working towards revenue growth. If it doesn't get done by somebody focused on the back office, it's going to get done by you, which means you have less time to focus on the front office.
I agree. You know what it brings to mind? I have to tell you. Last summer, I was asked to do a strategic thinking session with a company that builds fences. They have 7 locations throughout America. I went down because they said to me, we can't find the missing piece. I said, well, what's the problem? We're paying all kinds of quarterly bonuses and working that front end really hard, but we don't seem to understand what's going on. What do you think it was? The back office. Here's the problem. When they do commercial projects, they hire subcontractors to install the fences. The main company goes, scopes the job, orders the materials, has the materials ready at the depot. Okay, so the subcontractor picks up the materials and goes and installs the fence. Okay, now normal fence about 7 days to do it all. Dig the holes, put in the posts, put up the locking systems, the gate system, different things like that. Well, what they realized was that one of the problems was, and this had to do with how the information was coming in to the computer systems. Some people, they had like an iPad where you could do all the scoping, and they also had people who refused to use the iPad and wrote everything by hand.
Awesome.
Good people. One of the things I realized is maybe we need a training program that could help. And the second thing was that it was taking 14, 15, 16 days to put a fence in because all the materials were not in the right place at the right time for the subcontractor to pick up and go. So they were cutting their own profit because it took too long to get a fence in. And they were hurting the subcontractors who could install 2 fences in the time that it was 1.
Yeah.
So it's so funny when you're talking about this to go, I've seen this before. And I absolutely agree. Now they're working. I mean, they've got process action teams looking at, okay, how do we get this to the subcontractors the right way? How do we internally organize ourselves in order to be as efficient as we possibly can be to go exactly to the place you say they need to go? And that is to be at a level of efficiency that is creating revenue, just in of itself is creating revenue because we're able to take 14 days and compress it down to 7. Any reflection on that?
No, I think that's a great example. Part of that process improvement plans, that 7 days can get down to 5. As they start really looking at it and start putting things in policies and start analyzing where things can go, you could probably get it even down shorter. So the efficiencies of ensuring that the back office is working can improve the revenue side of things just by analyzing it, putting in SOP, writing it down, so someone can look at it, analyze it, and see how we can continue to improve the process.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that I think is so great, and I've had several guests in the last few weeks whose focus has been really a lot of the same kinds of things in terms of management. What is management doing? We talk a lot about leadership, and we talk about leadership all the time. But what people forget many times, and I think this is so great for your appearance here today and some of the guests that I've had in recent weeks, is that there is such a real focus on management. You need both. You need management and leadership. You need both. They're two sides of the same, they're two different sides of the same coin. And I think it's absolutely apropos. You got to have both. For me, leadership's about effectiveness. Are we doing the right things? Are we throwing good money after bad? It's that front piece, as you say. But management is also, how do we make things more efficient? How do we create an economy of scale to such a way that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're fulfilling our promises to our clients? I'll give you the final word on that. Go ahead.
One of the greatest mottos someone ever gave me was the idea of today versus tomorrow. And that motto was, as the CEO, my job is about tomorrow. My job is about leadership, about how the company's going to go, how are we going to design things, how are we going to get to where we want to get to. Today is about the managers, right? How are we going to do the job today as efficiently as possible? Once you start conflating those two things, something gets broken. You can't do both at the same time. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to try to be the CEO who wears 17 different hats, and you're not going to get to where you want to get to. So when you decide that you're going to separate those two things and you talk about, my job as the leader of this organization is about tomorrow, the growth, the direction, the sales, the revenue, and the manager's job is about today, efficiency, protocols, SOPs. That's when you start to see the power of your organization and see that growth model growing, because everyone knows exactly what their job is. Everyone knows what they should be focused on, and no one is crossing each other over because people are really determined and defined what those two things are.
Yeah, and that's the inflection point between leadership and management.
Exactly.
They have to talk. There has to be this collaboration. You got to know what's coming, and the managers take it and do something with it, allocate resources. They do all those things that are very important for any organization to keep running. I always say you do leadership maybe 15% of the time, and the other 85% you're doing management. You're trying to get things organized, get things delivered, or whatever business you're in.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate that. Let me just ask you this last question. What's the future holds for Janneh Wright?
Well, I actually just wrote another book, so I'm about to start getting that published and have it go out. Still deciding the name of it. But I think the future is I want to do a lot more conversations. That's why I'm on more podcasts. I want to see the growth of small businesses around the country at a different level. AI is a threat to small businesses. Big companies are a threat to small businesses. So I want to spend time really helping and influencing small businesses on how we can grow our business, how we can get to the point where these things that are coming down the pike aren't the detriment to our companies, but going to be able to influence them, grow them, and do more. Because I always have this feeling, if you find a great community, you're going to find a bunch of great small businesses. And then which one leads which one is still uncertain. But I know that the better the community, the more small businesses, the better the small businesses, the better the community. I want to be that to help with that. I want to be able to use my expertise, use my knowledge base, use my experience to help see more small businesses crush the 5-year debacle myth that they're going to be gone in 5 years. I want to see more 10, 20, 30-year-old smaller businesses, because they're the ones who are going to hire from their community. They're the ones who are going to sponsor the PV League on the community. So I want to see that happen a lot more. Over the next couple of years, that's what I'm focused on. How do I really utilize this platform, utilize my skills and experience to help more small businesses get to that level that they're going to be a much bigger impact on their communities than they are right now.
Small and medium-sized business controls 75% of the jobs in America.
Exactly.
And I think before they get ruled out, I really don't think that's going to happen.
I don't.
And I'll tell you why. because one of the things that's, from my perspective, one of the things that medium, small businesses have that is their greatest advantage is agility and flexibility. They can move quickly. They can, if you've got 30, 40 people, you can move those 30 or 40 people in a direction. You can react and outthink. I always say, don't compete, outcreate.
Correct. Absolutely.
And that's what small and medium-sized businesses have that incredible ability to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you own that marketplace? Watch this. Watch me jump over you now with a
Exactly.
product or a service that is just going to make your eyes water.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think part of what makes me nervous about larger organizations is that when you look at some of these places that are not away from city centers, right? If a Boeing leaves a community, 9 people in that community was working there. So the idea of creating these aspects of small businesses where if a Boeing leaves, we'll still be fine because we have these other things. A lot of communities in America get dissipated when their large one leave the community. But you're right. Small businesses have to be nimble. They have to be able to pivot. They have to know where they are. One of my mentalities is I'm a businessman. Yes, I have a degree in accounting. I do HR, but I run a business. So if I need to pivot, I can pivot. I'm not just stuck in the subject matter area that I am in right now. That's an important aspect of being a business owner, understanding what your strengths are and understanding that your job is supposed to be looking at tomorrow, seeing what's coming, and understanding how you assimilate it into your company or are you pivot.
I think we're already in there.
Yes.
We're down the road on this idea, but we are going to see a hypergrowth of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
More people saying, you know what, I'm not going to be a victim of another layoff.
Yes.
I'm going to go out and do something. And I've been thinking about this idea. I thought about this idea called creativity pods, the pod of whales. 6, 8, 7 people get together and they say, you know what? We have an accountant, 2 marketing people, we have 2 HR, we have 3 technology people. What can we do together? What kind of creativity can we get? Be careful. World's got to be careful, those people, because they're going to do something, and they're going to do something truly meaningful that brings meaning into their lives. So we'll see how it all turns out. We'll see what kind of good predictors we are, forecasters we are, Janneh, and I look forward to that. Listen, this has been a delightful conversation.
Absolutely. Yes.
I can't thank you enough for the time you spent here this morning on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I wish you and your family all the greatest success in the future. Thank you so very much.
Same to you.